Picture a crowded city sidewalk on a Tuesday afternoon. An ordinary man in a dark jacket walks home from work, head down, lost in thought. 30 feet behind him, a second man matches his pace. Not too close, not too far. He never changes speed, never crosses the street, never looks away. He has been there for 6 blocks, and the first man has no idea. Most people believe a Delta Force operator's deadliest skill is marksmanship, the steady trigger pull at the end of a rifle barrel. Most people are wrong. The skill that keeps an operator alive is the one that happens before anyone reaches for a weapon. It is the skill that tells him he is being hunted before the hunter knows he has been seen. Tonight you are going to learn how he knows. The methods taught inside the operator training course, the 6-month course that begins after a candidate survives Delta selection. The doctrine inherited from a set of rules American operators traced back to Cold War Moscow, written in the 1970s, when Central Intelligence Agency officers worked under unblinking Soviet observation. If you want to know the one move that turns a follower into a target, stay to the end and subscribe now so the next operator breakdown reaches you the day it drops. Delta selection is the part that gets the documentaries. The marches across the West Virginia mountains, the land navigation in the dark, the 100-mile graduation event that breaks the majority of every candidate class. That part is real, and it is brutal. It is also only the gate. The men who pass Delta selection do not arrive at the unit and begin training to clear rooms. They report to the operator training course, 6 months of education that almost no civilian ever hears described. Live fire shooting is part of it, yes, the kind of close-range work that turns a pistol into a reflex. But the shooting is not the hardest part of the course, and it is not what graduates speak about when they speak about it at all. The hardest part of the operator training course is the part that looks the least like soldiering: photography, surveillance, counter-surveillance, vehicle operations on foreign streets, defensive driving and offensive driving. Working from a cover identity for days at a time, under names that are not your name, in cities that do not know you are an American. The course is built to turn an Army Ranger or a Special Forces Sergeant into something the United States Army does not otherwise produce: an operator who can disappear into a foreign capital and live there long enough to find one man. The public image of a Delta operator is the door kicker, the man with night vision, and a short, barreled rifle moving down a hallway toward a target. That image is accurate for the last 10 seconds of an operation. It is wrong for every single hour that came before. Eric Haney, one of the first men through Delta selection in the late 1970s, wrote in his book Inside Delta Force, published by Delacorte Press in 2002, that the unit was built for the work that happens in clothes, not in kit. The kit is for the part you can no longer avoid. The skill at the center of that hidden work is the one most viewers have never had explained to them. The ability to know when you are being watched. The discipline of detecting a tail before the tail detects you. And that discipline did not begin in North Carolina. It began on the streets of Moscow. In the 1960s and 1970s, the Central Intelligence Agency's Moscow station was the most heavily surveilled American outpost on the planet. Every officer who worked the city understood that the Soviet Committee for State Security, the KGB, watched them at home, watched them at work, watched them at the embassy gate, and watched them in any restaurant where they sat down to dinner. The watchers were trained, well-resourced, and they did not rest. An officer who failed to operate cleanly under that scrutiny did not just lose an asset. He lost a Russian who trusted him with the man's life. Out of that pressure came a set of working principles the officers passed down by word of mouth. They were never an official document. They had no chapter number, no field manual, no signature block. They were rules a man learned from the officer who broke them once and lived. Over time, they acquired a name, the Moscow Rules, and they migrated quietly out of the agency and into every American special operations unit that had to operate beneath hostile eyes. The first rule was the spine of all of them. Assume you are under surveillance, not as a possibility, as a given. The follower may be there today, may be there tomorrow, may not yet exist. The discipline is to behave at every moment as if he does. The man who can hold that posture for a year does not flinch when he discovers he is right. The second was simpler and harder. Never go against your gut. The trained operator's nervous system registers the second time he sees a face, long before his conscious mind names it. The discipline is to listen to that signal. The man who explains away his own warning is the man who walks home and discovers his apartment has been entered while he was at lunch. The third governed how a man moved. Vary your pattern, but stay within your cover. The route that changes every day raises one kind of attention. The route that never changes raises another. The operator works the narrow band between them, predictable enough to seem ordinary, unpredictable enough that the watcher who tries to plan around him is always slightly behind. The fourth governed how a man looked. Lull the opposition into a sense of complacency. Be the customer in a coat too plain to remember. Be the tourist on the wrong block, the businessman with the wrong newspaper, the bored commuter who reads the same magazine every Tuesday. Boredom is camouflage. A watcher who has watched you for 3 weeks and recorded nothing useful gets reassigned. A watcher who gets reassigned is a follower the operator will never have to lose. By the time a Delta Force candidate reaches the surveillance phase of the operator training course, the curriculum he is reading was not invented at Fort Bragg. It was inherited. The operator who has done this work for a year does not think about the rules anymore. He scans without scanning. His eyes do the work while his head looks ordinary. He picks up tells in the seam between his peripheral vision and a reflective surface, in the shape of a face he sees again 3 blocks later, in the rhythm of footfalls behind him that match his own pace too neatly to be coincidence. The first tell is repetition. Faces are random in a city. A given man should walk past a given other man once and never again on the same afternoon. When the operator sees the same face at the corner of a coffee shop, and again at the front of a metro platform, and again at the entrance of a department store, that is not coincidence. He may not have a name for the man yet. He does not need one. The repetition is the report. The second tell is pace. A natural walker moves at his own speed. He slows for windows that interest him, speeds up when he is late, stops without warning when he remembers the dry cleaning he meant to pick up. A follower cannot do any of that. The follower's job is to maintain a fixed distance from another man, and that fixed distance imposes a fixed cadence. The operator's pace varies slightly without effort. The follower's pace varies with him. It is the one rhythm in the city that should not be there, and once an operator hears it, he never unhears it. The third tell is behavior. People in a city act on small impulses. They check phones, scan menus, look down at their shoes, glance at strangers. A follower does none of this. He has trained himself out of every reflex that draws attention. The result is the strangest thing in the frame, a man who behaves more smoothly than anyone around him. The natural movement of a city is messy. A man with no mess in him reads as a whole in the picture. Once the operator has logged the tell, he does not confront the follower. He moves him. He walks into a long retail corridor that exits at a different cross street. He buys a small item, pays in cash, slows the line, watches the storefront in the reflection of a display case. He turns down a one-way pedestrian street that forces every walker behind him to commit to the same direction or fall off. He doubles back through a metro station and uses the choke point of a turnstile to count the faces that come through after him. This is the surveillance detection route, the path engineered to force a watcher to reveal himself. By the time the operator reaches the end of it, the follower has either burned his cover or peeled away, and the operator has a face he can describe by the time he reaches his apartment door. Quick word for the men who are still here at the 10-minute mark. Because you are not the casual viewer, you are already one of us. Joining as a cadet gets you every new War Code video a full day before the public, a badge next to your name in the comments, and a shout-out in the next upload. The link is in the description. When the operator finishes the detection route, he keeps walking. The follower is no longer the problem. The next watcher is. The operator's job from this point forward is not to evade. It is to be impossible to assign. The Cold War officers had a phrase for the man at the center of this discipline, the gray man. Not a code name, not a unit, not a rank. A description of an outcome. The gray man is the man no one can describe an hour after they have seen him. He is the man the witness in the cafe cannot draw, the man the doorman at the hotel cannot place, the man the neighbor across the hall has passed 100 times and would not pick out of a 6-person photo lineup if her life depended on it. The discipline is built one decision at a time. The clothes come first. Not too cheap, Not too expensive, no logos, no slogans, no team colors, no novelty patches, no watches the eye lingers on. The cut is generic, the fabric is the color of a parking lot on an overcast day. The shoes are comfortable enough to walk 12 miles in, and ordinary enough that no clerk in any store can remember the brand. The posture is next. The military man stands a certain way because the army taught him to stand that way. Chest out, shoulders square, weight balanced over the hips. That posture works for a parade. It is a death sentence in a foreign city. The operator trains himself to slouch by a fraction, to keep his hands in his pockets, to look at things the way a tired commuter looks at things. He drops the spring out of his step. He drops the size of his chest. He drops by degrees every visible cue that he was ever informed. The route is the last layer. The gray man does not buy coffee at the same shop 2 days running. He does not take the same subway car. He does not use the same exit from his own building. He varies, not on a pattern that a watcher could detect, but on the texture of a man who is simply busy, simply restless, simply ordinary. The trained outcome of this discipline is the one the public never sees. The best operator the United States Army has ever produced is the operator no one has ever pointed at. He has the file. He has the photograph. He has the cover identity. The witness has nothing. The gray man is not working in a vacuum. He is the visible point of a system whose other half operates one cover deeper. That second half is a unit the public has rarely been allowed to hear named, the Intelligence Support Activity. Stood up in 1981, created out of the wreckage of Operation Eagle Claw, the failed Iran rescue the year before, when American planners discovered that they had operators ready to enter Tehran and not one human source on a Tehran street to tell them which house to enter. The activity exists to fix that problem before any door is ever kicked. Its officers operate undercover for weeks and months. They take the photograph of the entrance that the satellite cannot capture. They map the rotation of the guard the spy plane cannot resolve. They sit alone in a rented apartment 3 blocks from a target and they count cars. The work is called close target reconnaissance, and it is the real first shot of any direct action operation that follows. By the time a Delta Force assault team rehearses an entry on a building, that building has been studied for weeks by a man the assault team will never meet. The angles of approach, the timing of the locks, the noise that the kitchen makes when a window is opened, the camera at the back stair that has been broken since November, the dog that lives on the 3rd floor and barks at any footfall after midnight. All of it logged by an officer in plain clothes, working alone, applying the same tradecraft the gray man practiced on the streets of a foreign capital. The activity finds the target. It fixes the target. Then it hands the target to Delta or to the Naval Special Warfare Development Group, and the kinetic phase begins. That sequence is the heart of what American special operations have built since Eagle Claw burned in a desert called Desert 1. Find, fix, finish. The first 2 words run the entire operation. The third is the part that ends up in the documentary. A Delta operator can tell you, off camera, that the most dangerous moment of his career was not the 1 minute he spent inside a room full of armed men. The most dangerous moment was the 3 weeks his counterpart in the activity spent on the street in a city where no one knew he was an American. If that man was made, the operator never gets the address. If the operator never gets the address, the operation never happens. Which brings us back to the move we promised you at the start. The one piece of counter-surveillance that turns a follower into a target. The surveillance detection route. Not the rules behind it, not the philosophy that frames it, the maneuver itself. A path designed in advance to force a watcher to choose, to follow you through a choke point and surrender his anonymity, or to peel off and surrender the assignment. There is no third option. The operator who works that route does not look over his shoulder. He walks calmly toward a one-way pedestrian street, or a long retail corridor, or a metro turnstile, and he lets geometry do the work the man cannot do for himself. The operator who never gets followed home is the operator who built the route before he ever needed it. That is the skill at the center of the trade. That is the skill the Army does not advertise. Here is the line that will split the comments. A real operator is never the most dangerous man in the room. He is the man you never noticed was in the room at all. If you think raw gunfighting still matters more than tradecraft, say so below, and tell us which one you would bet your life on. And if you want the parts we leave out of the public version, the cases and the names that do not survive the final cut. The official tier unlocks the members-only videos, where we say what we cannot say here. Link is in the description.